On Monday night, in a sea of blue, Mike Elko proclaimed, "This is Duke football." Moments earlier, his Blue Devils completed a 28-7 breakthrough and statement win against Clemson for Duke's first win against the top 10 since 1989. 5 days later, Duke is ranked and playing again. Short turnaround to get ready for FCS opponent Lafayette. Hello and welcome to Durham. I'm Lo Galindo here with Charles Arbuckle. We talked to R.J. Oben, standout defensive lineman, the other day. He told us he missed Coach Elko's post-game speech in the locker room. Why? Because he was still on the field celebrating. Coach Elko said him and his wife were the last to leave this stadium because they were soaking it all in. It's a big deal, Charles.
Everybody that we talked to, you could get the goosebumps. You almost were in that spot. Even when I watched it at home, I just knew the feeling of winning like that, and it was good to hear them talk about it.
Well, they are in this spot because not just the head coach, but the quarterback as well. Riley Leonard, you need to know the name. For the 7th time since the start of last season, he led Duke in rushing and passing.
All offseason, I told people, hey, Riley Leonard is really good. Watch him in the Clemson game. People didn't believe me, but when he started to show the things that he could do, 31 touchdowns, accounting for everything that he was able to do last year, rushing, he can throw the football effectively, but he is an outstanding young man, and we're going to watch him with his spatial awareness and some of the things that he can do to make plays.
For Lafayette, they will go without their starting quarterback, Ryan Schuster, but they do have Jamar Curtis, who accounted for more yards in the first game of the season than anyone in D1.
Jamar Curtis is a guy that's in a tight space. You better wrap him up. Deuce Vaughn, some comparisons there, but also Darren Sproles. We're going to watch him today and watch what he does. He plays with a boulder on his shoulder. He's going to need it against this Duke defense.
68.2% of the offense in week number 1, the most in the FBS and FCS. He will have his hands full against a nasty, vicious Duke defense that wants to hit you and make a statement. Lafayette, the Leopards have won the toss. They are deferring, so they will kick it away.
We'll get to see that defense. We'll get to see that defense a little bit later, but we'll see Riley Leonard start this game. Let's watch what this team can do, especially in special teams. You have to have big plays against a bigger opponent.
How does Duke follow it up? It's been a dark, dreary, and rainy day here in Durham. This is a short kick. Duke will field it at the 30, and it is John Tavis Robertson with a short return. Still good field position here for Riley Leonard, one of the top quarterbacks that you should know right now.
Quiet leader, a guy that makes plays. They just say he does everything right, but I'm going to tell you, his basketball skills have really translated to why he's such a good quarterback, and we'll talk about that all game long.
98 rushing yards against the Clemson Tigers. 59 of those came after contact. None better than the 44-yard touchdown run where it looked like he was going down for a loss. That was ultimately the difference in the game. Jordan Waters to his left. Waters with the first carry to the right side. A stiff arm still up. Take it on Lafayette to midfield.
I expected this defensive front to stem, meaning move over right before the snap. But if you stay stationary, you will give up big plays like that one there by Jordan Waters.
17 yards to start this one off for Waters, who got the start last week. Back to Waters, big hole on the right side, and another first down. That's actually going to be spotted about 1.5 yards shy of the first down marker.
This offensive line has really improved. They have been able to protect Riley Leonard and create running lanes.
Leonard was not sacked last week. That's a quick strike to the speedster, Samir Hagans. Very talented trio of receivers with Hagans, Calhoun, and Moore.
Yeah, they've got a lot of guys that can make plays on the outside, and they love their ability to run the football and the guys that can make plays for that running game.
We're going to see Jaquez Moore now checking in at running back. A heavy rotation of runners for this Duke offense. Lafayette breaking in an entirely new defensive line. Their strength is at the linebacker spot. Moore with the carry, following the blockers to the left side. Running behind Graham Barton and Maurice McIntyre, never a bad idea.
Yeah, it's really hard when you have guys pulling and getting in front of Jaquez Moore and giving him an opportunity to run behind that big offensive line.
Preston Forney, number 18, in on the tackle. Part of the linebacking core that is the strength of this Leopards defense. Nicky Dalmolin in motion. Moore with the carry. And it's easy yardage, first down for Duke.
Yeah, this defense has just kind of stayed in one spot and really haven't moved and stemmed like I anticipated. They're just on the 1-2 also, Lowell. They're keeping them off balance.
One pass so far from Leonard. It will stay that way. Moore is wrapped up and brought down. Darian Riley with the stop. Now this is a Lafayette team. We mentioned they had to redo their entire front four. But then in camp, they lost Adam Port. Last week, they lost his replacement, Amir Crawley. So it's Terrell Cannon that's really having to hold it down in the middle of this Lafayette defensive line. The Duke offensive line, one of the best of the ACC. And Lafayette bowing up inside the red zone with Sekou White, young man from Atlanta, so he has a lot of friends and family making the trip to Durham.
Yeah, he and you can see Marco Olivas was in there right away, and that made everything get discombobulated on the inside.
This would be a win for Lafayette if they can hold Duke to a field goal inside the red zone on the opening possession. Waters back in at running back. Here comes the pressure. Leonard sees it and hits Jalen Calhoun. The go-to target gets Duke on the board, 16 yards.
We talked about the ability of Riley Leonard being able to throw the ball, but great protection here. Look at the blitz pickup, and when you have a guy that can run a route and he knows he has no one on the inside, Jalen Calhoun is able to run that post and get an easy 6.
First passing touchdown of the season for Riley Leonard. More will follow. Todd Polino with the extra point. 8 plays, 68 yards, a lot of it on the ground, and then right time, right place. Leonard to Calhoun. Duke with the lead over Lafayette, 7-0. Regardless of the opponent, it's a great sign for Duke when they score first. 8-0 under Mike Elko when getting on the board before their opponent. 7-0 Duke after the opening drive. Charlie Ham kicking it away. And it's going to be Jermaine Conyers calling for the fair catch.
Yeah, Lowell, whenever you have this, you know it's a safety. It's wide open and back there. There's a blitz. So you go where the vacated blitzer is. You have one-on-one coverage up top. He's outside. Jalen Calhoun, nice route. Nice throw by Riley Leonard. It's textbook. I can remember in 4th grade learning that. They learned it tonight.
About learning on the job. That's what Dean DeNoble is doing tonight for Lafayette. He was running the scout team offense for the Leopards last season after Ryan Schuster got hurt late against Sacred Heart. DeNoble came in. Schuster not able to play tonight. So it is Dean DeNoble making his first career start.
Coach Troxel said before the game, hey, he can make some plays. I don't always know what he's going to do, but he can make some.
Going with the pass on the first play, and it is complete. Chris Caracia, the speed merchant, out wide for the Leopards. They did not throw the ball a lot last week against Sacred Heart. It was a lot of Jamar Curtis.
Yeah, they really didn't have to, but I think this week they're going to have a healthy dose of both.
Everybody in the building knows where the football is most likely to go. A lot of pre-snap movement from Lafayette. And there is Curtis with his first carry. Curtis, sophomore out of Maryland, listed at 5'8", 164. That's why he gets some of those Deuce Vaughn comparisons.
Dorian OC coming after him right away. They're not going to let him get loose.
Brilliant defensive performance by Duke on Monday night. Shut out Clemson in the second half. Brilliant in the red zone. Blocked a field goal and had 2 turnovers. DeNoble with the move in the open field. He was able to shake Dorian Mausi and move the chains for Lafayette.
You said it best right here. Good protection, and then he sees I got to get open and find a lane, and he's able to just break people down and get some yardage for a first down.
Jalen Stinson making the stop.
Jalen Stinson at 5'8" will stick his head in there. He will come up and hit. He might get knocked back. We talked about it with the coaches, but he will go in there and stick some people.
Defensive coordinator Tyler Santucci told us essentially this secondary has bad intentions. They will come up and the littlest dudes on the field will hit you. Play clock winding down. This is the approach Lafayette wants to take. Curtis patient, open field, and that's going to be good for the first down. Jamar Curtis.
Whenever he's patient enough, Lowell, that I like what he's able to do. And they're able to get to the edge because they have those 2 pullers. Watch here, you have those guys pulling in front of you, and they're able to make some more. John Olmstead is one, and he just gets behind him. He and Reed Collins, and just holds on and then breaks outside.
15-yard pickup there from Curtis. This is an experienced offensive line that has made a huge jump from last season, which was year number 1 for John Troxell.
Ryder Langsdale was a former D lineman, 68, the left tackle, now playing offensive line, one of their better ones.
Mason Gilbert in motion. DeNoble will throw, and that's Carl Smith with his first catch of the season.
Mason Gilbert comes in motion, then they do a few things. They give you some window dressing. Carl Smith, the captain, the transfer from Virginia Tech, they want to get him involved in the game today.
Lafayette playing at their own pace. It's an offense coordinated by TJ DeMuzio. He knows Mike Elko well. That's Coach Troxell, an alum at Lafayette in his second season in charge.
He said we're going to compete. Now, that's all we can do, and he talked about that a lot this week.
1st and 10. DeNoble will throw again, sideline. There's a pulling of the jersey, and that will bring out the PI on Miles Jones. Carl Smith was trying to get away.
Well, this is what I was worried about. You had all week people telling you, hey, man, you did a great job. You were the guy. And this defense was a fixture for that. They let Clemson get in the red zone, but they had turnovers and they did things. They have to bow up now because this is a different matchup for them. They got to get that energy in again.
After further discussion, there is no foul for defensive pass interference on the play. It'll be 2nd down.
Wow. What do you think about this not being PI or defensive holding?
He's grabbing him the whole way. Look at his jersey is coming off. That was surprising to say it's uncatchable, but usually it's uncatchable because you're getting pulled back.
That's Miles Jones, though. He's played a lot of football, year number 7. Season number 1 after transferring from Texas A&M.
Yeah, that's a bad call for Lafayette. Miles Jones got away with one. He's a long guy, so you can see Carl Smith still doesn't have his jersey all the way over his pads.
Back to Curtis, and Curtis is met quickly.
Across the 35-yard line goes to
I'll tell you, that defensive interior line has really improved, whether it's Aaron Hall, whether it's Dwayne Carter, Jamion Franklin, Aeneas Pebble. The interior has really been where they've gotten better, and they will rotate inside a lot of people.
The young buck, Wesley Williams, top of the screen on the defensive line. He blocked 2 kicks in the win Monday night against Clemson. He is the future of this D-line.
All the guys even say he is really, really special.
3rd and 9 for Dean DeNoble and the Leopards. We'll go to Curtis. Curtis so patient, gets away from Williams, but is tracked down by Trey Freeman, who's coming off a career-best performance with 11 tackles against Clemson.
One thing I noticed about Duke the other night is that they over pursue. Here you see Wesley Williams coming down hard, and then he's almost able to get there, can't, but he slows them down enough for guys to come and rally up. Trey Freeman cleans that up. One of the awkward trash talkers, right? He can talk a little trash, but they always say it doesn't fall the right way.
So instead of going for the field goal, we are going to see
it's a little bit
a 4th and 6. Yep, 9th play of the drive. DeNoble, he finds Elijah Stewart, and Stewart moves the chains. First down, Lafayette.
Nice play call. You have a stack formation on the outside with the receivers, and then he's able to just find. You see Carl Smith in front, Stewart coming behind, gets open, first down.
Stewart, the leading receiver from Lafayette a year ago, 43 catches, 370 yards. And Lafayette, this has been a very impressive bounce back. They have not let Duke take them out of their game, their pace. They are dictating their offensive tempo right now. DeNoble, the quick throw. And that is Stewart with back-to-back catches inside the red zone.
You saw Brandon Johnson coming off the edge, just missing number 3. And then Stewart did a really nice job. He caught the ball almost before he was catching it, faked inside, and was able to gain a couple of more yards because of that.
But this is the situation that allowed Duke to win the game against Clemson. What they did defensively in the red zone, a blocked field goal, 2 recovered fumbles. They bowed up when they needed to.
Dwayne Carter is responsible for 7 forced fumbles in his career, 4th in Duke history. Watch 90. He will always come up with key plays in these areas.
A 2nd and 3 for DeNoble and Curtis. Curtis with the carry. Curtis reversing fields and is brought down by Wesley Williams.
Talking about the defensive front, what they were able to do. There was nowhere for Curtis to go. And watch the wall of blue right there. You can see they just hold everything up. Really nice job by multiple guys there. Anthony Nelson, you can see 93, and they couldn't get any yardage.
3rd and 5 for Lafayette on their opening drive. Check with me.
Methodical drive like you talked about, Laura, just taking their time, really milking the clock, but also finding the right area to go with the football.
DeNoble looking for the end zone. He's got it. No! Broken up at the last second. It was intended for the 6'8" tight end, Mason Gilbert.
And Mason Gilbert got his hands on it, but this physicality of that secondary, watch him come over and just dislodge the ball from him. I thought he was going to come up with it. He's covered there, but he can go up at a high point. And then Stinson again, a guy that would come and make a play, and he did not do anything malicious or with intent for targeting. So it was a really good, effective hit right when he was touching the football.
What could have been an amazing opening drive here for Lafayette. Instead, they will settle for the field goal. This is Jacob Trestick, a 34-yard attempt. Jack Simonetta, excuse me. There is a flag down.
Offside by Duke. Al Blades, I think, came across way too early. Which would give them a first down.
Offside. Defense. That 5-yard monkey route to the first down.
Wow, a gift by Duke. Keeps the drive alive for John Troxell. And Lafayette.
It's one thing they talked about, too, making self-inflicted wounds. That's a self-inflicted wound. Watch right there. You cannot have that. And that's the guy that can see the football. Usually he's the one that's getting, he has a get-off, but Al Blades Jr. was way too soon on that one.
Are we seeing the effects of a team too high right now, or perhaps just a team working on a very tight turnaround?
Both. I think you're seeing a little bit of both, and they have to wake up if you're Duke. If you're Lafayette, you say, hey, we're here to win. We're here to play you tough.
4:15 left to go here in the opening quarter. Bullet pass, end zone. Chris Caracia, a catch he will remember forever.
That was a strike, Lowell. That was a great throw by DeNoble, and an even better catch by Caracia. You have protection, trips, formation. He has Miles Jones in coverage, and look at the throw. That sidearm, quick flick for 6.
Dean DeNoble, scout team quarterback a year ago, comes out and in his first start engineers a 75-yard touchdown drive that took up 7 minutes and 20 seconds. There is not a better way the opening drive could have gone for the Leopards, and we're tied at 7.
Professor Taylor, if you're seeing this, please let me turn in my homework late because it's due tonight, I think at 12, so it may already be 12.
Hey, Riley, great game last night, man. It was so exciting. Congratulations to you and all your teammates. But you know, Wesley Williams and the other linemen who were in the class, they said they prepared ahead and did it ahead of time, so why didn't the quarterback? So no way, man. No extension.
So Riley Leonard also on Monday into Tuesday learned the limitations of his fame when you attend an esteemed academic institution like Duke.
It was
no
like
extension.
the Matumbo. No.
It was a good try, though.
It was.
And if I was in his position, absolutely, I'd be trying the same thing. Got another short kick. This is going to go out of bounds, so great field position here for Riley Leonard in his second drive.
Free
As
kick
they
out of
will try
bounds
to
on the kicking team.
respond to the touchdown drive from Lafayette.
Timeout.
And we'll have that drive when we return from Wallace Wade Stadium at Duke. Fabulous Riley Leonard last season, joining Bo Nix as one of only 2 bowl subdivision quarterbacks with at least 20 passing touchdowns and 13 rushing touchdowns. Nix has a battle later tonight against Texas Tech. Leonard in a little bit of an unexpected battle here against Lafayette. Second drive for Duke. John Tavis Robertson in motion. And it's going to be Waters with the carry, very patiently showing the burst. Fumble! The ball is ripped out! Gabe Du Bois took it away!
Gabe Du Bois just actually went and took the ball away from Jordan Waters. Waters running the ball, had open field, and I'm still shocked that this defense isn't stemming, but they were able to make a play. Watch Gabe, 20, he's inside, and then Gabe Du Bois just goes in and takes the ball away from him. Wow. That's the kind of plays you need if you're Lafayette. And if you're Duke, you got to now get to the grind mentality and all the things that you talked about, because you got a ball club that's game.
And this is the most reliable of the running backs that Kevin Johns told us they trust the most. The guy that's best with ball security and pass protection. But he's getting a coaching point there. What a play by Du Bois.
Trooper Taylor is going to be over on the sideline working with him to get his head back into the ball game.
DeNoble led a touchdown drive last time out. This one is batted down by Williams. But this is a game that Lafayette has circled. It was on the schedule before Troxel got the job, but he says it's such a big deal because these players at the FCS level, they want a shot to show what they're capable of doing.
I can remember years ago calling a South Carolina Citadel game, and the Citadel beat South Carolina. It was one of those situations where it was a weird game, but the Citadel outplayed South Carolina that whole game. Those are the kind of things you have when you have FCS teams playing up. If you're an FBS team, you've got to figure out, we have to stand up. We can't, it's not the Duke name, it's not this stadium, it's got to be about how you play ball on the field.
Lafayette has endured 12 straight losing seasons. Mississippi Valley State and Kansas, the only teams with longer stretches in D1 football. Curtis, another modest carry, will set up a third down and manageable.
No, I see some guys on skates. Watch this offensive line. They're really getting under people and getting padded up. You can see 71 John Olmstead just taking Wesley Williams back.
So how do you explain that? How can you dominate the point of attack against Clemson that has almost an SEC-style defensive and offensive line and not here?
They struggled a little bit against Clemson at some points because, remember, Clemson got inside the red zone, but they were effective taking the ball away or Clemson giving it away. Today, you've got a team that's game, and this is what they do. Jamar Curtis, 81% of the rushing yards was by him last week.
Slow it down. They come out of the huddle quickly. DeNoble will run. DeNoble's got a block He's going to be a couple yards shy before he is brought down by Nick Morse. Now keep in mind, Cam Dillon, standout linebacker, is not playing the first half of this game because he was ejected for the targeting call in the second half against Cade Klubnik on Monday night.
Yeah, he's one of the key components for that defense, and a real physical presence for him. He's out for the first half. It's a good stop by this defense. Now let's see what they can do offensively after the turnover on the last drive.
Quick 3 and out. After the strip, Jalen Calhoun is back deep to return. Jacob Trestic, a short end-over-end punt. Calhoun struggled with this on Monday night, so he's just getting out of the way and trying to get his teammates out of the way as well.
That's what he's telling them. Get out of there. No, get away from the football.
Tonight, after Southern Miss and Florida State, the ACC Huddle crew will have a complete wrap-up of that game the whole day. They've got highlights, analysis, interviews with players and coaches. How you covered over on ACC Network and the ESPN app. It's been a wild day in the ACC, especially just in this area because of weather alone.
Yeah.
That 15-yard,
Teams not able to play or having to wait. The Notre Dame North Carolina State game was just crazy. How many lightning delays and weather delays they had.
So Byron Johnson was called for hands to the face. So that will improve the field position for Duke. And drive number 3 for Riley Leonard. Last season, Duke only lost 4 fumbles. This season, so far, they've lost 3.
That was the key for them last year, playing really good football and keeping games close.
One of the best turnover margin teams in college football last season. Moore is the tailback. Leonard will give it to him. And the Lafayette defensive front is game.
He pulls ahead for about
4-yard carry for Marco Olivas, the leader of the Leopards defense, brings him down.
Now they're going with a little bit of tempo as well.
Got a flag on the play. Olivas thought he had a tackle for loss. Let's sort this one out.
See this a lot with Olivas and Schaefer and Forney shooting those gaps when they see openings to try to get the back in the
Personal
backfield.
foul, illegal use of the hands to the face defense, number 97. 15-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
So that's twice. Now in a few plays, that's against Philip Pfeiffer, so automatic first down for Duke. Pfeiffer, number 97 on the defensive line.
Yeah, you can't have this. When you're here, you got to make sure you don't get those hands up in the face. Right there, you can see him trying to hold off the double team, but you got to get that underneath the pad and not up in the face area.
And those are the details, right? If you're Lafayette, you want to hang in this game as long as you can. Those are the mistakes you cannot have. And another flag. And that's going to be a false start.
Offense, number 8, 5-yard penalty, first down.
This was a big problem Monday night, especially with the receivers jumping.
Well, this time, now you have a defensive front, like I said, that's stemming and moving, and it messes with your count. But if you're the offensive line, you have to stay, what we would say, hold your water. You cannot jump and you can't move. I think Lafayette's going to have to move around because they're not big enough to just stay in there in the trenches with this Duke offensive line.
1st and 15. Moore brought down in a hurry. That's Olivas, the senior from Fort Worth, Texas.
He's a tackling machine. 11 tackles in the first game, 11 last year, the season opener. Very instinctive. He's a team leader. And he just makes plays.
First team All-Patriot League last season. 2nd and 13. Riley Leonard looking for some rhythm. And that throw on time, on rhythm to Higgins.
He is bumped out of bounds by
One thing that Riley Leonard has really gotten better at is just staying calm because he's such a good athlete, letting things come to him. Good pass protection there. He knows he has his receiver, gets it to him. The nice Nice, easy throw and catch.
And you never see Leonard force throws.
He's always calm, too. It just seems like he just understands everything that's around him.
3rd and 6 for the Duke offense. Dalmolin in motion, and that is going to be a first down carry for Jaquez Moore, junior out of the state of Florida. And we had a very quick first quarter and a surprising one as well, Charles.
It was, because you got a team that wants to play their game, and you know what they want to do. They came here to try to win this ball game.
And we have a tie game. After one, it's Duke 7, Lafayette 7. Mike St. Germain, Lafayette's defensive coordinator, basically has spent all season trying to figure out how you slow down Riley Leonard. Leonard 3 for 3, 36 yards, and a passing touchdown on the opening drive. Leonard looking to throw backside pressure, but Robertson is wide open on the far side for a 5-yard gain. The problem, he says, is even when you use your outside network, you see that everybody can slow down Riley Leonard, but no one can do it consistently.
Yeah, he talked about all the teams that they looked at, and he also had Trey Mooney play him this week to really give them an effective look. But he said, man, every time you look up, you think you have him corralled, and all of a sudden he's gone.
Hasn't taken off quite yet, as he is closing in on becoming a 1,000-yard rusher for this Duke program. Calhoun in motion. Moore with the carry. Good hole up the middle. First down before Sekou White brings him down.
Graham Barton, really good block. Mo, Maurice McIntyre, Sean Elliott. That left side of the line really came off effectively and just made some movement. Actually, there's Justin Pickett and Graham Barton, and also Sean Elliott at the center, but you can see that blue just pushing those white jerseys back.
Kevin Johns had some questions that he wanted answer in the opener, and that was a lot about the offensive line, new center and right tackle, transfers from Harvard and Stanford. That is Elliott and Hornibrook, and they held up well. Jordan Waters gets the carry. He had the fumble earlier. Dancing, weaving through Lafayette's defense inside the 10.
Low, no sacks allowed last week with 80% blitzes or passing down blitzes from Clemson. But look at this offensive line now. Now they're rolling. Look at those guys. Graham Barton out there. You got Big 70, Scott Elliott also there, making a really nice lane. Look at it, and very good patience right there by Jordan Waters, who fumbled earlier but looked very decisive in that run there.
Bouncing back strong with 23 yards, setting up a 1st and goal.
This is a different offensive line and defensive line for Duke this year.
Waters. Met in a hurry by Jalen Joseph. Pyle keeps moving forward, and that is a touchdown. That's getting those big nasties behind you and driving you to the pay dirt.
Jacob Monk, one of them, the captain on that front, two-time captain, very vocal, and you can see the enthusiasm because offensive line guys want to run the football when they have you in this position. And that was easy for Jordan Waters to get there and let them push. Look at that blue wall right there, just no penetration, and then he just knifes in there hard against Jalen Joseph, and then the pile comes, and look at Monk, 63. Okay, yeah, we're touchdown, baby, we're touchdown. Woo, you gotta love it, man.
Polino comes on for the extra point, and Duke has reclaimed the lead. Jordan Waters getting help from his friends and getting in. He's now got 73 rushing yards, and the second quarter is just underway. Welcome back to Wallace Wade Stadium on the campus of Duke. It has been a rainy, soggy start to this Saturday. Things have cleared up. The fans have started to show up slowly here to see their Duke Blue Devils now in the top 25 reclaim the lead against FCS Lafayette. And Jamar Curtis calling for the fair catch.
Well, you have to have a quarterback that's going to step in there and make plays for you. Getting the ball out quick here. The other thing, Carl Smith on that catch. Get another one out there. And then this great throw on the touchdown in between the corner and the safety. That was some real strong ability. And I think He's not worried about this ball game. He's trying to play it.
Unbelievable. They had so much confidence, too, in Ryan Schuster. Schuster got the start after breaking his femur in the 4th game last year, worked his way back into the starting mix. He got hurt late in the game. He was able to play a couple more drives after getting hurt. DeNoble eventually finished as Lafayette won their opener against Sacred Heart. Now this is Jermaine Conyers, up and over. Where are they finding these guys? High academics, high verts, they got it all.
Well, also Duke will do this. They go inside, RJ open, and when he sees that, he says, okay, I wore 40 last week, but this week I got my number back, and I'm gonna high point you. Jalen Stinson is only 5'8". He goes down. That allows him to get over the top of it.
I don't care how tall you are. That's getting up and getting over.
Oh, man. The competitive nature, when you watch them on tape, you knew this team was going to play. They have had down years, and Coach Troxel said, we are trying to win. We're doing it every way we can to get these guys to understand what we need to do.
Conyers had himself a rushing touchdown in that one against Sacred Heart. That's a 2-yard pickup right here. How do you think Duke is handling the slow pace that Lafayette wants to play with?
It lulls you into a kind of a fog, and you've got to work a way around it, and those are the things there. Some of the things that they do on defense, you can tell this ball club is taking advantage of it, and I think T.J. DeMuzio is doing a really nice job. A guy that's worked with Coach Elko in the past. He was a defensive GA at Bowling Green, and now he knows Coach Elko, but it's not about those two. It's about the players on the field.
Elko hired him at Hofstra and Bowling Green before he went back to a career on the offensive side of the football. DeNoble, a laser shot, and the big tight end, Mason Gilbert, hauls it in for the first down. That's a matchup that Duke has been paying attention to.
They did. That was the one guy they said they had to worry about, along with Jamar Curtis. But the other thing about this, coming back after that shot that he took in the end zone, this is a big matchup problem for a kid that's got length and will go snag the football.
Looked like Gilbert had a touchdown early, but Jalen Stinson coming over at the last second, making a hit to dislodge the football.
When they get in a flank formation or they have two tight ends, which they haven't run a lot, they've been more spread today than I saw them on film. But they're spreading Duke out, and they're finding running lanes at times as well.
Conyers with the carry.
You could see Duke now. Terry Moore was the safety. He walks up to be the 7th man in the box. They're really trying to take away the run lanes from this team, because if he's not there, it becomes 6 in the box. We'll keep an eye on that, and I'll show you what I'm talking about.
And this methodical approach, you still have to move the football, still have to move the chains.
The worry for Duke was their linebacking crew, who's gotten better, but also losing Cam Dillon in this first half.
Offensive line for Lafayette really holding up. Just feels like Duke needs their own big play on defense just to get the spark and the fire back. You know it's in there. Late in the play clock, Conyers this time gets upended. Not like he was going over Stinson there.
Yeah, Aeneas Peoples coming in, watch 16, just does a great job, hands, and gets there and just gets in the way. And that penetration, when he's working on Brian Bauchi, causes disruption.
3rd and 6. This will be huge if the Leopards can convert here. DeNoble feeling the pressure. Great find to Gilbert again. He felt the blitz from Duke and knew where to go with the football.
Yeah, whenever you have what we said earlier, you have guys coming, and then where the blitzer comes, that's where you throw. Vacate that same spot, Terry Moore, and he's able to get it to Big Mason Gilbert for a nice gain.
15 yards, and Buck, he picked that snap up nearly off the ground.
I watched him in warm-ups, Lowell. He was able to they were slow snaps sometimes, and he would get the ball and just fling it. Coach Troxel told me, he said, look, this kid is going to compete. He's game today, and our guys will make plays for him if we give him a chance.
Conyers A couple yards on first down.
You have to have a certain physicality when you play any ball club that has had such a big win as Duke. But I also think, too, that's got to be in your makeup and your DNA, and that's what he's been trying to do. He was a former player here. You come home, you ask him about it, how excited he was about it. He also talked about, hey, we got to show that we are serious. And when we have those opportunities, we have to make the plays, which his team has done.
His biggest goal didn't talk about winning or losing this game. It was, once we leave, we want Duke to know that we were here.
56 gollies when most of the FCS has 63. They're working to try to get to 63. They're balling right now.
Conyers jump cut, one man to beat on the outside, but cannot beat Terry Moore.
What I will say again is Duke hard inside. You take advantage of it. But Coach Troxell talked about working to get back in a situation where they could be so much better. He played at Patriot League title team here. He knows what it takes to get these guys back.
09, the last winning season for Lafayette. This was one of the most storied programs in the early days, late 1800s, early 1900s of college football. It hasn't been quite the same. 3rd and 6, we could be looking at 4-down territory for the Leopards. DeNoble will move the pocket, throw on the run, and that is going to be close with Stewart.
On the rollout and the pass, it is caught by Elijah.
And this is a moment where you got to go for it and bow up if you're Lafayette. 4th and 1.
Yeah, they bring in the tight end. This is where they go with the flank formation, and they've been very effective when you watch them on film with those two tight ends, Dallas Holmes and Mason Gilbert.
Clock keeps on ticking. DeNoble moving with the music. Mike Elko looking for a stop.
Look in the flank position, 89 and 81. Now, they're going to move, and those are the guys they like to run behind in this formation.
Duke moves with them. Conyers going up, and it's going to be close. It's right at the marker. Lafayette offensive line is saying move the chains. Duke is saying we get the football.
Yeah,
Dallas Holmes is adamant this is a first down. We're going to have to get the chains out here.
Yeah. And Law, I'm a little bit surprised. Normally I've seen them run this and they are effective into the boundary. They went into the field.
Now, is that switching up maybe a tendency that Duke would see on film?
I haven't seen enough of them on film, but I have seen this formation both to the field and boundary. And right there, does he get across the line?
I don't think he, with the progress he does, at least from that angle, Wesley Williams made an initial hit, and it looked like that would be enough.
Well, I'll tell you one reason if they don't get it. Mason Gilbert is 6'8". Sometimes he plays a little high. He was knocked back. But
here comes the chain, and it is, we're getting the measurement now.
Wow.
Duke
man.
Football.
By the appearance of where the spot is versus what we saw, and that line is not 100% accurate, that was crazy.
Well, that's the little momentum changer that Duke needs. It doesn't matter if it's an inch or not.
Coach Troxell has to, he wants to see that again.
So they will review the spot. We'll have the results of that review after the break here at Durham.
Let's get you home.
The review is complete, and John Troxell is not going to like this. Ruling on the field stands, so that means Duke football as Conyers is stopped just short.
The person that makes the play is the one that Mason Gilbert has to get lower and underneath. He gets knocked off the ball there, and then let's see where the knee goes down, but it looks like on the replay that he got there. Nick Morris, I think, is the player that makes the stop.
Peyton Jones, talented freshman in the backfield. Riley Leonard, plenty of time. He's got Jalen Calhoun for the first down, and Calhoun coming up with his second catch of the night.
They said Peyton Jones would really flash in today's ball game.
And this is a complete contrast of styles. Leonard and Duke trying to go fast. Backtracking. He beats Preston Forney before he's eventually brought down by Blamasi Mate.
Mate finally corrals him, but I think Riley Leonard outthought himself. Look, he gets there, he comes up inside, and then, oh, no, I don't want to go there. Let me come back. The offensive line is trying to hold as long as they can. Mate says, I'll bring you down if you keep moving around like that.
How is he that difficult to tackle, Buck?
Spatial awareness, that basketball ability, the things to understand where your body is and how you use it and how you move around and slow things down.
First carry for Peyton Jones in his career, and he's brought down after a few yards by Olivas.
Olivas is always around the football, but Peyton Jones shows you that burst right away.
Mike Elko said he deserved to play more against Clemson, but with a game that's that tight, one blunder could change the outcome, the course of that game. He got a little gun shy with putting him in. 3rd and 4. Jones, and it's going to be close. Tackle made by Tristan Roundtree.
Native of Cary, North Carolina, right out of Green Hope High School. You know, he's got a lot of family coming to this ball game.
No doubt. And here we go, 4th and 1. Duke is keeping their offense out on the field for the moment.
One of those situations where you know you have a quarterback that can run, so you can do that. You've also, your offensive line just really has to come off the football and be effective here.
Jordan Waters, the running back, on 4th and 1. And we've got a timeout by Lafayette.
Lafayette takes its first time out of the half.
3:42 left. A huge 4th and 1 coming up after the break. Moments ago, Duke stopped Lafayette on 4th and 1. Can Lafayette return the favor? Charles, where's the football going?
They're running the football 123 yards after contact versus Clemson. I expect them to go for 1 yard rushing.
Lafayette called the timeout to figure out their defense. Waters upended. He's going to be short.
Now, where they're running in with the spot, they're saying that he got the first down, but from the naked eye, it did not look like he had that first down.
And they are saying move the chains, first down to Jordan Waters. It looked like Sekou White had him stood up.
Sekou White had 12 tackles in the season opener last year and then had it again this year.
Left guard Justin Pickett is down. Let's take a look at the carry.
Sekou White with the great tackle right there, and Terrell Cannon.
We'll check in on Justin Pickett.
Please reset the game clock to 3 minutes, 25 seconds, 3:25. Thank you.
After the critical 4th down conversion by Duke. During the break, left guard Justin Pickett went to the medical tent to get checked out. That was immediately after Duke was able to convert on a very close call on 4th and 1. Jordan Waters with the carry there. He stays in the game, and we need to reset or get the play clock running. And here we go. They've got the clock situation figured out. 3:17 left to go here in the first half. Duke up by 7. Leonard, the deep drop back. Steps up, lets it fly, looking for Jordan Moore. Some contact. Here comes the flag.
The defensive back never got his head turned around.
So if you're Sekou White, you are frustrated.
Yeah, you are.
Because you feel like you just made a stop on 4th and 1 and got hosed with the call, and you just come back with this shot and a PI.
All he has to do is make the turnaround, and then he has a chance not to get the flag thrown against him. But the play before, watch him come in and make this tackle. Sekou White with an excellent play late right here. And he holds him up, and then he has help. That's not a first down. The official comes in from the top part. Boy, they got holes on that one.
And they think that was the case also offensively on a 4th and 1. that was not called as a conversion. Leonard staying clean in the pocket. That's the standout tight end, Nicky Dalmolin.
Jordan Waters with a nice blitz pickup allows Riley Leonard to stay clean. They're not going to run him a lot today, and Justin Pickett is going into the locker room right now at 77.
And that could be just an early entrance into the locker room with half 2:44. Could be for further evaluation, obviously, as he was just in the medical tent. Leonard on the button. And that is Jordan Moore, who Leonard beat out going into last season for the starting quarterback job.
Going to show some run action and then really nice job. They think he has a lot of ability and upside. Just needs to be more physical in the pass blocking or run blocking game, but he's really nice and smooth. Had 63 catches last year.
Since the start of last season, the targets have been very evenly distributed. Jalen Calhoun, 102. Jordan Moore with 100. So those are Leonard's go-to guys. Creeping closer to the red zone. Waters shaking up the middle. And picking up 6.
That interior offensive line now starting to establish itself. Jacob Monk, Scott Elliott, and Maurice McIntyre, the 2 guards as centers.
And now Duke goes back to the grinded out approach. That's something Kevin Johns told us is really at the core of the Duke offensive philosophy. They always want to be the team that dictates the offensive tempo, but we've seen them mix it up at times here so far. Back to Waters, trying to break the tackle, and he does. House call for Jordan Waters.
Long, we just talked about where they would run, and that was right between Scott Elliott and Maurice McIntyre, and they just really were effective right in that area where you're going to see between the guard and center. And Jordan Waters knows that he has an easy touchdown once he gets through the line of scrimmage.
16-yard touchdown for Jordan Waters, and that gives him a career-high 97 rushing yards as the extra point is up and good. Duke leads 21-7. It has been a career game and 1/2 for Jordan Waters.
Yeah, Jordan Waters is really running the football effectively, but you got to give that offensive line a lot of credit. You got guys coming off the ball. You can see Scott Elliott, 70 there, Maurice McIntyre also there, and Jacob Monk. I talked about those particular guys on the interior. Look at they lock people up, and then he's able to just run through tackles and get for 6.
This is one of the most experienced offensive lines in all of college football. You see Jacob Monk, he was on Bruce Feldman's freak list because that is a strong dude right there. You start with the left side. Graham Barton could be working his way into becoming a first-round draft pick at left tackle.
Well, when you look at Duke in the past, you didn't always see these kind of dudes, but Monk is one. They talk about Maurice McIntyre, strong and explosive. It's easy for you to get behind those guys, Jake Hornibrook. And then the other guys that they'll rotate through also are very effective as an offensive front.
Follow
Jordan.
the big nasties. I mean, if you got them, run behind them.
Yeah. Jordan Waters' cousin, Shaquille Leonard.
Great play.
Yeah. Indianapolis Colts, who had some injuries last year, but they expect big things out of him again this year.
So now it's time to see if Lafayette is comfortable in the hurry up. Everything they've done so far offensively has been as slow as you possibly can go. They've had some close calls with those 4th downs. There's a minute 17. They've got 2 timeouts left. Does Troxel even push the envelope here?
Well, you have to try to do some things to make sure you're getting in position to give yourself a chance. And yeah, I'd say let's use the clock and use those timeouts and march down the field if I'm Troxel.
Duke has taken momentum back with the 4th down stop, 4th down conversion that led to Waters' 2nd touchdown. And here comes the Duke defense stringing out this run as Chandler Rivers eventually forces out Jamar Curtis.
Yeah, Jamar Curtis really doing a nice job, and that's Chandler Rivers, a Beaumont guy. I was born in Beaumont, Texas.
Beaumont,
Texas.
Texas?
I know about Beaumont, Texas. I talked to his high school coach, Malcolm Frank, who was a great player at Baylor and in the league. He said, hey, this kid is smart, high football IQ, and loves to play the game.
Jamar Curtis coming off a career performance, had a good start. He's had 7 carries, 24 yards. The offense has been balanced between him and Conyers. It was Conyers carrying on that 4th and 1, not Curtis, and you wonder if that could have been a factor in them coming up short. Quick toss, and it's low to Dallas Holmes. So very quickly now, it's a 3rd down, and Duke has 3 timeouts left.
Yeah. The thing you have to do is try to get yardage. But also, too, this plays in Duke's favor if they're not able to get that 3rd down. Because you know they'll go in a hurry up.
Yeah, they're trying for a kill shot, up 21-7, trying to make it 28. And this is the moment where R.J. Oben pins the ears back and goes. Coaches say you work for the right to rush the passer. Oben has worked for that right. But it will go to Curtis. And Curtis, tracked down by Trey Freeman, breaks free and finds the sideline. That's exactly what Lafayette needed.
Smart heads-up play by Curtis, knowing I got to get the 1st down and then get out of bounds to save time and save our timeouts. 10-yard rush by him. Perfect play call in that situation when you know the ears are pinned to get to the quarterback.
And that doesn't happen too often, getting away from a player like Trey Freeman. But just when you think you have Jamar Curtis, he finds a way to slip away.
He has some of that Darren Sproles and some Deuce Vaughn in him. He gets it, not inside a phone booth. They don't have those anymore, but a walk-in closet kind of guy where you try to catch him and you cannot catch him in a tight, confined space.
Well, we asked his coach who
Lafayette
he thinks that Curtis models his game after. He says, no, he doesn't think that way. He thinks the other guys model their game after him. That's confidence, Charles.
I said he has a boulder on his shoulder, and you have to play that way when you're that height and probably have been told all your life, hey, you're a little undersized. He plays with a lot of edge, and I love how he runs the football.
Do you think Duke was anticipating this kind of start from Lafayette, or were they caught on their heels a little bit?
They were caught on their heels. It's hard to win a big game like that, Law.
On Monday.
On a Monday.
5 days ago.
And then you come back and you have a team that you know you're going to give them lip service and say, yeah, they're great, and you're going to play them hard. But until you actually get in the game and you get punched in the mouth a little bit, then you have to say, okay, we have to man up now. We have to play hard.
There is Jamar Curtis, week 1 against Sacred Heart, largest percentage of offense by one player in week 1 in the entire D1 level. That's FCS, FBS. Empty for DeNoble. DeNoble is pressured. DeNoble will throw on the run, coming back and making the completion to Elijah Stewart. Now Lafayette will rush up to the line. They've got 1 timeout remaining.
And this guy, you have to stay alive. When DeNoble moves, you have to move with him and get yourself open. 17
yards on the pickup for DeNoble. Pressured, and he's going to be brought down. Brandon Johnson, the leader of the secondary, playing closer to the line, gets this stop.
Yeah, they wanted to make sure if DeNoble got moving around, they wanted to get to him. But this is a really nice job by this DeNoble on this other pass, moving, and then Stewart says, okay, he tells him where to go and gets the ball right to him. Chandler Rivers on coverage, and then right here, again, you walk that safety up to the line, you make sure you have effective numbers. He comes off, he's a free rusher and able to get to him.
Johnson with his 2nd tackle for loss this season, had one of those Monday night against Clemson.
7 tackles in that game, 2 pass breakups as well. The secondary and the defensive line are the 2 stalwarts of this defense.
And the secondary playing without Jeremiah Lewis tonight. He broke his thumb against Clemson. The coach is telling us he's not playing tonight, but he should not be out too long. That's a key piece to this Duke defense.
Really is. And he's played a lot of football. They've got some guys that have played a lot of football, and they have some young players that are also experienced in how they play this game. Look at Brandon
39
Johnson right there
seconds left for Lafayette. Out of timeouts, DeNoble throwing to a one-on-one, picked off. Miles Jones, he ripped it away. And Duke with the INT, the former Texas A&M Aggie, coming up big.
The length, the strength, and then the ability to go up and get the ball at his highest point. This is a 6'4" defensive back who's played a lot of football. You see the edge rusher there. He gets rid of the football, and look at this great job of just taking the ball away from Caracia.
Caracia thought he had this one for his second big catch of the night. Miles Jones had other plans.
Lowell, this is what impressed me about this defensive backfield. They were like Velcro to the Clemson receivers. Today they struggled a little bit, but even then they've made plays like this that shows you how effective they are at getting after the football.
It's a ball-hawking defense. Mausi with an interception in game number 1. And Jones comes up big there. 30 seconds, 3 timeouts for Riley Leonard. They are going for it. Dalmolin has to make the adjustment on a ball thrown behind him. He does.
Under 2 minutes, the clock will stop while they reset the chains. That's the new rule for this year, but they have to continue to go fast unless they call a timeout.
And that is going to be a timeout.
Dalmolin with a nice job of getting over the middle of the field, and Riley Leonard finds him.
So Mike Elko smelling end zone, or at least 3 points here.
Right here, you see him, and then he's going to just run down the field and find that open area on the linebacker who initially I pointed out to. But that's the area of the field where you're the tight end. You can work that really effectively.
And Dalmolin has worked on the balance of his game. He's still not a punishing blocker, but he is a willing blocker as well.
I always ask coaches, you guys want to block? And they said, yes, definitely. He wants to block, but he's got to get a little stronger. But the thing they love about him is in passing situations, you just saw what he's able to do in those kind of situations.
Riley Leonard, 8 for 8 start, 90 yards and a touchdown.
So this is a tight end's dream when you have the defense being the way it is and trying to attack the middle of the field.
Leonard will throw backside pressure. Here he goes, open field. Makes one man miss, but then is brought down by Philip Pfeiffer.
Great players always say they can make one guy miss, and Riley Leonard is notorious for that.
That will force Duke to use another timeout with 17 seconds left. ACC Network College Football coming up tonight, 8:30 Eastern Time. It's 4th-ranked Florida State hosting Southern Miss in Tallahassee. Also available on the ESPN app, so you can watch anywhere. Jordan Travis, Keon Coleman, what can you say about that duo and how they looked against LSU?
Jordan Travis already showed you last year how good he was, but now they're playing at a different level. And it is tough for anybody playing Florida State, but not only the offense, but their defense is nasty this year. It's going to be tough every week against that Florida State ball club.
And it's going to be tough for Duke. Coming off a 9-win season, their schedule is brutal this year. It is going to be a journey for this team to reach that 10-win milestone. Leonard, complete over the middle to Higgins. Hurry up mode. Stop pauses, clock pauses, and it looks like Leonard will just be content to spike this, and he does with 11 seconds left. Still one timeout for Duke.
Really nice throw on that dig route by Riley Leonard. He's getting more and more comfortable in finding guys in those spaces. I mean, you really have the ability to run, and he's going to find his receiver right there. Number 2, Samir Higgins. Gets to the top of the stem, and Riley Leonard knows that and is able to find him easily.
Really impressed by Duke and the way they weathered the storm. You're going to see some of that in games like this. They made stops when they needed to. And when they make a defensive stop, whether it be on 4th down or the interception, they have come back strong offensively. Leonard feels it. Then he's got more. To the 10-yard line, out of bounds with 4 seconds left. So do you go for the field goal or do you take a shot?
You kick the field goal here because they did a nice job. He did as much as he could. I like what Moore did, getting out of bounds quickly. But Riley Leonard, again, finding time. You see your back coming out of the backfield. You know he's there. He adjusts to you, and you hold the ball just long enough. You get out of bounds, you go kick the field goal. Really good drive by Duke of getting points after the turnover by Miles Jones.
And here is Polino, 29 yards, no good. So all that work, and you come up with nothing.
You need that, and that's where you want to have your field goal kicker to be effective. Polino just shanks it.
But all in all, a surprising start because Lafayette, even though Duke scored on their opening possession, they responded with a brilliant drive with Dean DeNoble. But this is still good news for Duke, 9-1 when leading at half under Mike Elko.
Yeah, they want to fight, and they know this team is going to take it to them, and you need this. You had a little bit of a hangover from the Clemson game, but they look much better in that second quarter, late in the quarter, by offense and defense.
And it's never a bad thing when you've got a quarterback that's perfect. And Riley Leonard is a perfect 10 for 10, 127 yards. He's got his first passing touchdown of the season to Jalen Calhoun. But those Leopards, hey, sticking around. 21-7, the Duke Blue Devils leading at the break.
ACC Network halftime report. Doak Campbell Stadium tonight should be rocking when Southern Miss comes to town. Hope you're enjoying the first half of the ball game. The unconquered statue right there, the scenic shot, tailgating galore. Everything's a good deal on a Saturday for college football week number 2. And boys, we'll get to Florida State momentarily because this team's off to a great start. But man, I keep thinking about that 1999 team. And guess what? Here on ACC Network on September the 19th, we're number 1, wire to wire. It's all about Florida State, and boy, were they something special.
Today, Florida State fans breathed a sigh of relief when Peter Warrick announced he would return for his senior season, despite being the projected number 1 draft pick in the NFL this year.
When the dust settled at the end of the season, we got the 2 teams that should be here.
So Peter Warrick standing up near the 35-yard line.
When they punted the ball, all I was thinking was, I got to change the game. I got to make a play for my team.
There's danger at the other end.
Oh, yes. This one's returnable. He's got room. 3 guys. He got away from 3, 4, 5.
Ran, stopped, and then I was like, oh, it's open.
Leverton, the punter, finally made the tackle.
If I'd run that back, would have had the momentum, things would have been different.
The Tennessee Volunteers have defeated the Florida State Seminoles.
By us losing that game, that's what made me want to come back.
Florida State is trying to become the first team in college football history to go wire to wire.
We were the number 1 team in America with one of the greatest college players to ever play the game.
It wasn't about potential, it was about performance.
Showtime, baby, that's what it is.
We perform every Saturday.
Everybody wanted to beat Florida State. We were the team of the 90s.
Tallahassee in the 90s was the funnest place in the world. Football was everything.
Tommy had an undefeated season. Terry had an undefeated season. They all had them before I did.
The mission was to be the first team in college football history to go wire to wire.
There wasn't no stopping us in '99.
It was only fitting to have the greatest coach to ever do it first.
Again, coming up September 19th, man, I remember that team. They were something special, man. That was an elite group, and that is what this crowd is trying to become in 2023. EJ, you know all about the quarterback position. Jordan Travis looks to be the guy for the Noles to take them to the promised land.
Yeah, absolutely, Pack. And that game against LSU, I thought he really exuded moving the pocket at a high level. I think Jordan Travis has always been great in zone read schemes, obviously taking off in the scramble drill. But the way they moved the pocket to allow him to see the field clearly, and then also when he did stay in the pocket, his footwork was excellent. When it was calling for a catch, set, throw type of pass, he got it out quickly. His timing was always impeccable. So you really see a leader and a guy that's played a lot of football here in college.
You look like a guy in complete control.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, we talk about quarterback play all the time. Right. Like, that guy's got happy feet. This guy's like, hey, this is
cool,
everything's in slow motion.
Absolutely. Yep.
And I think that's what just was so impressive. You know, at that stage, against that caliber of opponent, nothing was too big for him. The lights were not, too bright, anything like that. And I thought the epitome of the game was that fourth down conversion to Tolafili. Just, hey, come on in, defense. Please hit me. Right over his head, 40, whatever yards it was to the house. And then the very next play, Pack, he's reading the right end-of-line player, and those spidey senses go, I don't know how we saw the guy, but a backside guy, and he just pulls it and walks in the end zone. And a first, second-year guy can't do that. He gets obliterated. This guy is a magician. He's at the top of his game.
And I'll go back to even that mistake with the interception to Deuce Chestnut. It was off of the screen.
Yep.
You saw him. He clapped it up. As soon as it happened, I looked at Jordan Travis, and I wanted to see his reaction. And it was one of great body language, telling his team, we're good, guys. We're fine. And it showed up in the second half.
Of course, tonight you'll be able to see Jordan Travis at work. You're also going to see a defense, Eric, that guess what, has dudes and was on attack mode, totally dominating the second half against LSU. Yeah. I expect more tonight.
And really, it got started, that first drive. LSU has a massive play, another big play right after it, and then 7 plays, y'all, on the goal line. And they stood up tall, and they kept them out of the end zone. I thought that was a tone setter for the entire game, where they're saying, no, sir, just because you have that logo on your chest doesn't mean a daggum thing in this game. The defensive line was active, aggressive, and just quite frankly dominant. I'm excited to see the rest of the pieces fill in. Linebackers look really good, but I think there's another level that secondary can get to, and I think we'll see that tonight.
And Big E, I want to stay on that defensive line because the keynote is Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, those kind of guys, Fabian Lovett. But that opposite defensive end, Patrick Payton, he made some plays in that game. Yeah. And whether it was actually tackling or the running, but he also got his hand up on some footballs, called some eye violations for the quarterback of Jaden Daniels, and this guy can fly sideline to sideline. He's going to be somebody, and he was already the ACC Defensive Player of the Year last year. He's going to have a big year this year as well.
And I like the fact they have many different defensive body types.
Yes.
You mentioned Peyton Long, Fisk will hit you right in the face, and here comes Jared with the speed. I mean, this is a nasty, nasty football team, right? They just look the part.
A lot of depth. That I think is the biggest separator is just roll. Whoever you want. Just put them in there. Let's play.
Yep, no doubt about it. Again, that's coming up tonight. Folks, get back to your game in the second half. That is your ACC Network Halftime Report.
The Duke Blue Devils playing their first game as a ranked team since 2018, up on Lafayette 21-7, although it has been more of an interesting first half of football than Mike Elko and these Duke Blue Devils probably expected it to be. Lafayette is hanging tough. Week 3 of ACC football starts Thursday with Miami hosting Bethune-Cookman at 7:30 Eastern Time. Miami closing in on a huge win against Texas A&M. Duke is going to return to action on Saturday against Northwestern. That game's slated for 3:30 Eastern Time. Duke trying to move to 2-0 on the season, and they got to make the most out of their early season schedule. Try to go 4-0 because after the first 4, it gets ridiculously tough for Duke. And then the ACC primetime football matchup is Florida Atlantic taking on number 25 Clemson. The Tigers bounce back after that loss against Duke with a win earlier today. You'll see FAU and Clemson 8 Eastern Time. ACC Network also streaming live on the ESPN app. Almost set for the second half. We'll get you prepared on the other side of the break here from Wallace Wade Stadium as the Duke Blue Devils get ready to return to their field. Heads up that we are in for a little weather here in Durham, North Carolina. Rain is moving into the area, but as it stands right now, Duke with the lead over Lafayette, 21-7. Mo Galindo here with Charles Arbuckle. We talked with Kevin Johns, offensive coordinator for Duke, coming into this game. Said all week long they've been battling human nature, and that is complacency. When you have success, you have to battle against getting comfortable. How much of this first half is battling complacency? How much of it is just battling a game Lafayette team?
I think it's both. I think when you have such a short, compact week, that also plays a role, and they've done a nice job with that. But a Lafayette ball club that really wants to get after you, and they didn't just come here for the paycheck. They came here to play you.
Yep, and they've had a really good approach in the first half. But Duke has Riley Leonard, and he's been perfect 10 for 10 through the air.
Oh, he's just really throwing the ball effectively. They had a blitz. He was able to find that. He's able to step up in the pocket, throw with authority to Samir Hagans. And then the last one, I really like this, drift over and say, get out of bounds. He's coaching his guy while he's throwing the football. But also, too, this Duke rushing attack. They haven't really used Riley Leonard there smartly because they can really run the football effectively when this offensive line mashes like they were able to do late in the second quarter. And Jordan Waters is the beneficiary of that running through you after giving up a fumble early in the game.
Waters with a couple of touchdowns and a career-high 97 rushing yards in the first half. Dean DeNoble, hot start in his first career start.
Dean DeNoble showed no fear, came out here and threw the ball effectively, got the ball down the field. That was a great strike in between the corner and the safety on that touchdown. Really excited, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he comes out in the second half.
Lafayette won the toss. They deferred. They will receive to start the second half. Short kick to the 10. And here comes Dean DeNoble. You look at the first half stats. Time of possession, Lafayette was doubling up Duke for a bit there going into that final drive. Total yards, Duke with the edge, 272 to 155. The time of possession has been cut down, but Lafayette, they are running at a very slow pace, and we expect that on this drive for a couple of things. It's worked, and now here comes the rain.
And the rain just opened up. As soon as we talked about it at the break, you could see that coming in, and how is that going to affect this Lafayette team and this Duke team? You can see us up here too.
We're dry.
In the shadows.
We are dry. And it's been this way. It's affected multiple games in this area. North Carolina, Appalachian State, NC State, Notre Dame earlier today. And Jamar Curtis and Dean DeNoble going back to work. DeNoble will throw, and that is batted down at the line of scrimmage by Dorian Mausi. He's got an interception in the opener against Clemson, and a guy that very active in the middle of the Duke defense.
Out of Detroit, Michigan, really has shown up and got that big paw up and knocked the ball down.
The lone touchdown by Lafayette was set up with an offsides call on the opening drive for the Lafayette offense. They were going for a short field goal. Al Blades Jr. jumped off sides, and then DeNoble was able to find Chris Caracia for the touchdown. Well, that is Curtis, nowhere to go. Met immediately by Vincent Anthony Jr., the sophomore from right here in Durham.
He was shot out of a cannon. Number 19 coming hard, goes down, penetrates, and just right there. That's where your eyes get big if you're a defensive lineman, where you know I can get a tackle. And look, he's telling this guy, look, Nelson, you know I was right there, dog. You know I had him.
Hey, and you know there was words exchanged at half as well.
Yes.
This is not our brand of football. It is too close for comfort. Third and 11 for Lafayette.
Well, you're absolutely right. You got to come out with some intensity, and I've already seen that in these first few plays.
Cam Dillon, number 35 at linebacker, his return to the game, missed the first half after his targeting ejection in the second half against Clemson. We've got a timeout as the rain is relentless here at Wallace Wade Stadium. 3rd and 11 coming up for John Troxell and Lafayette.
Grab my rain jacket, the black rain jacket.
Fans, turn your attention towards the north end zone. Under the umbrella, we have our good friend Joseph. Joseph will have the opportunity to see what he can do with our football soccer game that will be up at the backfield board. Hello, Joseph.
Well, I can tell you this, there are more Duke students here than umbrellas. If you've got an umbrella, you're extremely popular right now. But honestly, the way it's raining, it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
Lafayette started the game responding to a Duke touchdown with a touchdown of their own. Then they got a fumble recovery, but went 3 and out. The controversial sequence was on that third drive where on a 4th and 1 attempt, it looked like Jermaine Conyers had the first down. It was ruled short. Duke comes back. Looked like Lafayette got a stop on a 4th and 1. Duke got the first down and was able to punch in another touchdown.
And those are smart people right there, right? They go underneath the awning so they can stay protected.
It's Duke and Lafayette. These are two great academic universities. Dean DeNoble converting and getting more before finally he's brought down by Chandler Rivers after a 3rd and 11 leads to a huge game.
Every time you think these guys, these Leopards are gone, they'll do this. This is a great job here. Good blocking up front. Look at all of that open space. And Stinson with the bad angle, and then he just makes the rest happen.
18 yards by Dean DeNoble, making his first career start. Played 1 series in the win against Sacred Heart. 19-14 opening win for Lafayette. Curtis with the carry. That's Conyers. Check that. And picks up 1 yard. Mausi with the stop.
Called Mausi's name quite a bit. He also had that block pass, ball, knockdown ball earlier in this drive. That's the one thing they all talked about too, is the conditioning. It felt like they were so much more conditioned this year, even over last year, and just the ability to run and play and work through it. You're going to need it through this monsoon, but you're also going to need it against this Lafayette ball club.
Conyers stays in at running back. DeNoble throwing on the run, sideline one-on-one, and that is going to slip through the hands of Caracia.
Hardest thing when it's raining like this is the ball gets a little slick. Everything just is tough. You can see it in our cameras. DeNoble gets over. Caracia is there, but he can't pull that ball away.
And you can understand why. Lafayette 4 for 8 on 3rd down. You mentioned the conditioning. Tyler Santucci, the defensive coordinator for Duke, told us, and he was dead serious, he felt like his guys could have gone another 60 to 80 plays against Clemson on Monday night. 3rd and 9, DeNoble. Pressure up the middle. And brought down by Ryan Smith. Last year's Special Teams Player of the Year, now becoming a force on defense.
Yeah, they use different guys to rush on 3rd and long, and Ryan Smith is one of them that plays that role. He's able to get outside, watch 40, nice job with his hands, and then he gets off and is able to corral DeNoble. Sometimes you get outflanked, but he does a really nice job of redirecting, and some of that special teams game that he's used to playing comes into effect in a wet, damp field.
4th and 16, Jacob Trustic will punt, drawing the hands before getting the snap. You saw Ryan Smith trying to block that one. Calhoun, get out of the way. That's twice that he's either tried to get out of the way or directed his teammates to do the same. So Lafayette has backed up Duke. The Blue Devils coming out when we return. Buck, I love being back in North Carolina, and here's why. It doesn't matter the weather. If you got Bojangles and Cheerwine, you're set.
But my man is saying, Dad, Mom would have brought the umbrella to protect us. You get my nuggets all messed up. See, most of the women understand. You got an umbrella. Oh, water's flowing.
Oh, just like the hype around the Duke quarterback, Riley Leonard. Mel Kiper ranking him as the number 3 quarterback prospect for this year's NFL draft, behind Caleb Williams and Drake May. That is going to be one of the best quarterback duels that we see all season when it's Carolina and Duke.
Really will be.
Looking forward to that. Riley Leonard, a perfect 10 for 10, going back to the ground here for the man that's already putting together a career game. It's Waters with his 9th carry going over the century mark for the first time in his career.
You know, they were really able to run the football effectively last year, and it's starting to carry over to this year. Also, the yards after contact, the things that you sense. They love getting behind the offensive line, but also guys are able to, after contact, gain yards, and it's starting to show up in this game again.
Do you think we see Leonard throw the football all that much with these conditions?
It has to be dire straits. I think they're going to run this football as effectively as they can.
And that's what they're doing. Waters running through a tackle, giving the first down as Waters keeps churning.
If I'm Moore or Jones or anybody else on the bench, I'm saying, Coach, put me in because I want to get my stats going. And if you're Lafayette, you've got to find a way to stop that running game if you're going to get the ball back.
Riley Leonard fighting a swarm of defenders before Olivas brings him down, but still in that play, Leonard is able to get a few yards.
Yeah, look how many people are going to miss him. This is how slippery, almost Harry Houdini-like. I'm by you, okay. Oh, yep, you're there. And it's always that he's able to see one or two guys ahead. Marshall Faulk talked about this all the time when I played with him. I'd say, what do you look at? He said, I don't worry about the first guy, the second guy. I already made them miss. I got to get to the third guy. Riley Leonard has some of that in him.
That spatial awareness that the coaching staff talked to us about coming into this game on display. Waters is going to take on the teeth of this Lafayette defense brought down by Pfeiffer. But you can tell he's a basketball player without knowing that he played basketball.
See, that was the first thing I told Coach and I told you when I watched him on tape. Just because basketball helped me to understand body awareness and how to body people up from my position as a tight end. As a quarterback, he was a point guard. He understood where people were. When you see great point guards, you can just watch them and almost feel how they feel the game.
3rd and 4 here for Riley Leonard. Heavy dose of the ground game for Duke all night, and that is the first incompletion of the night for Leonard. There is a flag late back at the 27-yard line.
And Riley Leonard is holding his arm a little awkwardly. I think he got hit late.
Personal foul, leaping, defense number 26. It's a 15 first down.
So that goes against Marco Olivas, the leader of the Lafayette defense, and this will lead to a first down for Duke.
Olivas is coming late, and he's going to get in there, and he's going to get by Waters and just jump over the top.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so why is the call?
Why is the call against Olivas?
So it looked like he cleated Riley Leonard.
Yeah,
that's called it for leaping.
They instituted that rule to make sure people can't go over the top. But Olivas almost
it looked like he was elevated over the top. That's what they're trying to avoid, obviously. Calhoun, and he is brought down by Du Bois.
But isn't that interesting that you can hurdle guys? You can hurdle someone, but then when you do that, you can't go the other way. That's interesting.
And you know what? Just looked like he was going up to try to swat the pass down. But Waters, little dirty dancing move, kept him up, but did not stick the finish.
He put baby in the corner. I guess Olivas got put in the corner on that one.
He got put down. Here's a 2nd and 6. Calhoun in motion, back to Calhoun. And that is going to be close to a first down. We'll set up a 3rd and short.
Well, he does a really nice job, too, in the passing game of throwing guys open. That was the other thing that you see now, putting people in position to make not only the catch, but the run after the catch.
And so with that penalty, the incompletion does not count. So Leonard is 12 for 12, showing some moves, gets past 40, and that is first down yardage. Leonard, he's working his way deeper into the conversation, and it's early, of the guys that could be an ACC Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, he is. He's so effective. Made Clemson missed 5 tackles on him. He's done that today. He's just consistent in how he plays this game of football, and his passing skills have gotten even better than over last year.
Little delay handoff, 2 more. Full head of steam, trying to stay upright, and Jaquez Moore, give him 6.
They said he was going to make a difference in today's game. That's a 39-yard explosive burst through that offensive line. And it was almost just like a little delayed draw, but giving him full vision. Watch here. Riley Leonard gives it to him. He said, okay, give me the ball, man, so I can show these guys what I've been waiting to do as a freshman, to go to the house.
Moore, the most natural ball carrier, with change of direction and vision. That, according to his offensive coordinator, Kevin Johns. 3 rushing touchdowns now tonight for the Duke running backs, and it's 28-7 Blue Devils now firmly in control.
He's not a freshman, he's a junior, but he's showing you, I'm good to be here, I'm good to get for 6, to put it on the board.
Jaquez Moore with the second rushing touchdown of the season makes it 28-7 Duke. If there was any question about Duke and their ability to respond after a sluggish start, it's been answered. Duke is looking good, starting to roll in some nasty condition. Ball is out, picked up by Conyers, but it looks like he called for the fair catch initially, so they're going to spot that where the ball was fumbled. Pre-game, heartwarming moment.
Receiver signal for a fair
This is
catch.
Mike Elko and the offensive coordinator for Lafayette, TJ DeMuzio. DeMuzio was a very good quarterback at Delaware. When he was done being an offensive guy, Elko hired him at Hofstra, then brought him with him to Bowling Green as a defensive graduate assistant. After he worked with Elko, decided, I'm going back to offense, and there's
But it helps
Muzio somewhere up there.
Somewhere, we can't find him, but it usually helps you. Every coach that I've talked to that said they started as an offensive guy, goes to defense, or vice versa, it really helps them understand the game much better.
Muzio, second season calling plays for Lafayette. Carry here to Jamar Curtis, their star tailback. And here's a shot of them at Bowling Green when Elko was the defensive coordinator. The top row on the right. Dave Clausen, by the way, the head coach. And there is TJ, the redhead. Now, TJ told us what he appreciates the most about Elko is he has this innate ability to have the balance between pushing players and supporting players. That's a very tough balance to strike in this day and age. DeNoble, really nice speed option keep for the first down.
Well, it's interesting to hear that dynamic, but also Tyler Santucci, the defensive coordinator, talk about Coach Elko and how he's helped them better understand how to be a DC now in his first year as a defensive coordinator. Understanding and the things that he does and how he pushes them, but also allows him to make decisions and understand how to call football games.
That is Anthony Nelson down with an injury. Elko was working on that coaching tree.
Yeah.
Back at Texas A&M, that's where he coached up Tyler Santucci, who was coaching linebackers. Santucci then became the co-defensive coordinator at A&M when Elko left before last season to become the head coach at Duke. And then Elko, with a fine season under his belt at Duke, saw what Santucci was doing with the Aggies defense, brought him over, and it's been an instant impact.
Yeah. It's always good when you hear young coaches talk about guys like Mike Elko or Dave Clausen was to him in helping him in his career and understand how to progress in the game of football. No matter how many influences you have, you still have to be you. And he talked about that from Mike Elko. I said, what's your biggest thing? I'm observant. And I think that's a real key. I love how he said that because it's so true. He said, hey, nobody taught me that. I just had that innate ability to be very observant.
Najee Adams now checks in at running back for the Leopards. And he brought that up because he hears it all the time about him being a demanding head coach.
Kids want to be coached. Young people want to be coached.
But they want to understand the why.
I love that. And as adults, we want to understand the why. We just didn't challenge it as much as they do now.
And we don't have the information and the resources available as Cam Dillon comes back strong, and Aeneas Peebles is also in there with a tackle for loss. Mike Elko, an amazing resume, especially as an offensive mind. Second season as the head coach at Duke. First Duke head coach to reach a bowl game in his first season. Since 1994, he becomes the first to win 9 games and a bowl game in his first season in Duke history.
And he also had a good understanding of how a program like this would be, how he could win here, and he had the blueprint for that in his mind.
All sorts of motion on the left side or right side. Check that.
Ball start. Offense, number 71. 5-yard penalty, second down.
John Olmstead's mom is saying, hey, everybody on the right side of the line move. It wasn't just 71. That's my son. Don't call my baby out.
But the background with Elko, he played at Penn, won the Ivy League there. So an Ivy League high academic institution. He learned how to win there and then had a lot of stops on the East Coast. He's an East Coast guy, and he's learned that nitty-gritty style, but also got a taste of the Southeastern Conference as well, as this is Adams that is brought down in a hurry by Leon Griffin and Terry Moore. And he learned how the SEC programs also win. It's a perfect balance and combination.
It also reminded me a little bit of, if you think similarly of a West Coast guy, David Shaw, the same way he built Stanford. Kind of that understanding that we can recruit nationally. We know kids that want to come to Stanford. I think Mike Elko is doing the same thing here, and having talked to Nina King this offseason, she talked a lot about how he did in his interview and understanding how, hey, I'm going to embrace the basketball school. It doesn't matter. We're going to get guys here because they love to play football.
3rd and 18 draw to Adams. Adams shakes out of a tackle from Dillon. Will not be able to outrun Brandon Johnson there, and this will set up a Lafayette punt. It is a tough place to win, though, because of the academic standards. Right now, though, Duke feels like they have momentum. And the way that Santucci put it, we are top 10 in academics, top 10 in football. We need to capitalize on momentum right now.
And get the transfers that want to come in that understand the toughness, like we talked with Barton.
Scott Elliott coming from Harvard. Hornibrook coming from Stanford.
Yeah, guys that understand, hey, it's going to be a grind, but you're going to have a good time playing football and possibly winning.
Calhoun slips through one tackle and then is body slammed by Narayan Brown.
Narayan Brown is able to get the tackle on Jalen Calhoun.
So coming up later tonight, 8:30 Eastern, number 4 Florida State hosting Southern Miss in Tallahassee. Also available on the ESPN app, so you can watch anywhere. Jordan Travis at his must-see TV right now because he lit up Brian Kelly and LSU to the tune of 342 yards, 5 total touchdowns.
Oh, man, he can play. He has really improved, gotten better, starting to understand. Mike Norvell has really worked with this young man, and I really like how he's playing the game of football.
New quarterback for the Duke Blue Devils. It is the redshirt freshman out of New York City, Henry Beelan. This is another David Cutcliffe find, so you gotta believe there's some talent there coursing through the veins of Beelan. It's going to be a give to Peyton Jones, the freshman running back. And Jones comes up with his longest carry of the night.
Beelan, when I was watching him in warm-ups, really, they like his arm, getting better with his footwork. Right, they think he might have even a better arm than Riley Leonard, stronger arm, but that doesn't mean he's more efficient and accurate, and I think that's the key they want to look for, making sure he knows how to use his legs when he needs to.
All his passing stats from last year in a game against North Carolina A&T. This could be the future at the quarterback spot once the career of Riley Leonard is done. 2nd and 1, well, we get to see the big arm on display. Here we go, Beelan stepping up, shaking, and throwing to an open receiver. And that is Jordan Moore, the former quarterback trying to stay up. He's inside the 5.
Jordan, the turf monster got you, man. And Jalen Calhoun was hoping that he would score. I like what Beelan does here. It's not the throw. Watch him get outside and just make use his legs to get around and find time to get the ball down the field to Jordan Moore, who has become a really nice receiver. But watch it at the turf monster. Oh, get the feet up. And he just might have tripped over Jalen Calhoun.
He looked like a kid on a slip and slide the way he finished that. So Beelan with one pass, that doubles his previous career stats in passing. Peyton Jones there with the carry, and it's going to be a 2nd and 1.
Lowell, I see why they like him. That arm. And that was a really nice throw. And not just the arm, his ability to get out of harm's way. The footwork they talked about him getting better at. Not panicking, knowing that the rush is there, but if I get by this one person, I'll have plenty of time to get the ball down the field.
2nd and goal. Beelan under center, he's gonna keep it, gets the push, and for the 2nd time, Duke gets the push at the goal line to send the ball carrier into paydirt.
His father, Henry, played at Vanderbilt. I'm sure he's happy to see his son get his throw, get down in the end zone, and score a touchdown. He's excited about that, and I think he's got a really good future.
Beelan into the end zone for the first time in his college career.
I tell you, when I watched him in warm-ups, I was really impressed with his ability to throw the ball, but that offensive line just mashed that defensive line and pushed them right out of the way.
4 plays, 60 yards, 2:13 off the clock. Extra point up, and is good.
No score with 1:50 remaining in the 3rd.
So we talked with Lafayette head coach John Troxel and simply asked him about the rivalry. Hey, what are your thoughts on Lehigh? That is the rivalry. And very tongue-in-cheek, his response was, well, Duke hates Lehigh, and so do we. What he was referencing and had it on the top of his head was the upset in the 2012 NCAA tournament when C.J. McCollum and Lehigh became the 2nd 15 seed in tournament history at that moment in time to beat a 2 seed, knocking off Coach K and Duke.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one right there. Lafayette wants to own it, right? 81, 72, and 5 all time. And then Coach Troxel won his debut. Kind of like whenever you can, if it's USC, UCLA in my mind where I played, if we can beat the Trojans, it's always a good day. And I'm sure he's saying the same thing.
Got him in year number 1. The rivalry, the most played rivalry in college football. Troxel has done a lot immediately to revamp this once storied program, as it's another opportunity for the Leopards offense here.
You talk about that, he said his president, who's a former student at Notre Dame, understood what it was like to build a program. They're only at 56 scholarships. There's usually 63 in FCS. He said, but she understood what it's going to take to get us there, and we plan on being there, and we're going to build this program, and we're going to be solid.
University president is Nicole Hurd. She was hired 6 months before she hired John Troxel, and with that relationship with Notre Dame, seeing how they blended academics and athletics, her message to Troxel was, why can't we be the Notre Dame of the FCS?
It makes perfect sense. If you want to play good football but also have a high academic standard, you can. And you see that more and more often at the FCS level.
Najee Adams hit quickly by Jalen Stinson with a stop and thump. And she has done a great job embracing what Troxel needs. And the scholarship number, that was the end result of his about 6-month study into what had been going wrong with this storied program. They weren't on an even playing field with the rest of the Patriot League, but there has been the commitment now to get that scholarship number up to 63. They also hired a full-time strength and conditioning coach for football. In the past, they had shared a strength and conditioning coach with multiple sports.
You hear that more and more often no matter what level. If you don't have a strong strength and conditioning staff, you're not going to have a strong football team.
Sideline picked. Joshua Pickett coming up with the interception.
And that's a great interception, but not very good throw by DeNoble. He really needed to get that ball higher and further and not able to really do it effectively on that particular play. But Pickett ran the route. I say it again, these guys for Duke do such a good job of not only playing defense, but going to attack the football. We've seen it, Miles Jones. We see guys really being aggressive to the football, which I love to see defensive backs. That they compete on every single one. And if they get beat, they have a short memory to say, hey, we're going to come back. The Noble has to have that on their next drive.
It is a ball-hawking, opportunistic defense coordinated by Tyler Santucci. He has been one of the stars with the rest of his defense through 2 games so far for Duke. Beelan back to work, back to the go-to guy. Jordan Moore to the 30. Stay high.
Just a little bit behind him, but still. Jordan Moore, former quarterback who's made the transition. I don't even look at him as a quarterback anymore, but a guy that can go make plays. And he's not afraid to go those dig routes across the middle, doing different things. We've seen him make some big plays this week, but last week as well.
Coaches want to see him have a little more physicality on the perimeter when it comes to the blocking game, but they feel if he gets that developed, he is a guy that can play on Sunday.
That's always the last phase for a guy that moves from quarterback to any other position, but in particular with the receiver, you've got to be physical in the run game as a receiver.
Beelan, clean pocket, low throw, complete to Robertson.
Finding openings in those zones, and he's just really effective with the football.
And that's going to take us to the end of the 3rd quarter. Beelan getting his opportunity. 1 drive for him. He's led Duke to a touchdown. 4th quarter, trying to lead Duke to another one. It's 35-7. Blue Devils are turning it on now against Lafayette. Is cleared, so it is dancing time. Charles.
I can see clearly now. The rain is gone, and I'm going to do it real fast.
You were dancing a little earlier up here. I mean, got some moves. I'm impressed. Logan Lindo here with Charles Arbuckle. First snap of the 4th quarter. Henry Beelan directing the Duke offense, led him to a touchdown in his first drive, and that is Peyton Jones with the carry. But there is a flag down. See what the infraction is.
Personal foul, illegal use of hands to the face, defense, number 98. The penalty went forward, half the distance to the goal, automatic first down.
I think that's the 3rd time, and it's a point of, and it's been a point of emphasis here in the last few years that you're starting to see it more, and it's being called more. You can see right there, just really holding that head, 98, just and then throws him down at the end.
So Demaria McCoy called for the illegal use of the hands and quickly to the bench. 1st and goal for Duke, with Riley Leonard giving way to Henry Beelan. Peyton Jones making it difficult on Lafayette, eventually brought down at the 6-yard line. Will leave us with a stop.
You know, you never want to say this like this, but Lafayette is really, I've been impressed, not only watching film of them, but also just how they fought today. There were a couple of those 4th down conversions that could have gone either way, didn't go their way, and you knew eventually Duke, with all the athletes and everything they have, was going to make a difference, but this small club has fought, and I've been impressed with that part of it. Patriot League is always a tough league. I'm looking forward to watching them compete in that league.
I mean, credit Duke for just waking up and making plays like that. The first passing touchdown for Henry Beelan as he connects with Jordan Moore for the touchdown.
In these games, you want to see your young guys get an opportunity to play, and we're seeing Henry Beelan and Jordan Moore hook up, but you also understand, you know, Peyton Jones getting the chance to get in there and pass pro in real live time. I think that's the opportunities you give these young guys that haven't played a whole lot of football a chance to play at this level.
Extra point on the way from Todd Polino. Up and good. So 2 drives engineered by Henry Beelan and 2 touchdowns. 1 on the ground, and this The sweet feet of Jordan Moore. Give me 6. And he's holding on to that football like it's the most precious thing in his life. Eight offensive possessions for the Duke Blue Devils. Give them 6 touchdowns. Doesn't matter if it's Riley Leonard direct to the offense or Henry Beelan. Duke is finding a way into the end zone. Was a sluggish start, but they have responded well and have taken complete control of this game. The kick into the end zone. So Lafayette will bring it out at the 25-yard line. Logan Galindo here with Charles Barbuckle, and around the triangle, it's been a hectic, eventful day. A lot of rain, a lot of delays. In the early game, Notre Dame with Sam Hartman back in North Carolina. 4 touchdowns. They take down the Pack. North Carolina is now driving, tied at 27 with App State just down the road in Chapel Hill. Mac Brown looking for another one of those classic field goals to get the win, and we've got the blowout here.
Well, I'll say this, Sam Hartman made such a difference, but I drove by Carter Finley earlier today. I couldn't even see over in that area.
That bad, huh?
Oh, it was unbelievable, and he still throws for 4 touchdowns.
Sean Davis now comes in at quarterback with Najee Adams at running back. Again, this is a Lafayette team that's playing without their starting quarterback, Ryan Schuster. He was knocked out of the game late in their opening win against Sacred Heart. Dean DeNoble, he battled. He was a warrior and gave them some real glimpses of it could be a 1-2 punch to that quarterback spot for Lafayette.
Well, the other thing is, if you think of the famous alums from the school, you got to talk about Joe Madden and Beth Moe. But they've got some guys that are competing, and they've really talked. When we talked about him, they said Ashawn will play and has played well when he's been given his opportunity.
Goes to Adams, and he is brought down by Aaron Hall. And here are those famous alums of Lafayette. This tells us really that Joe Madden and Beth Mullins are brilliant, because Lafayette is no joke when it comes to its academics.
Yeah, Beth Mullins, I've had the good fortune of calling games with her in the past.
And she is amazing.
She is
just
outstanding.
An amazing person.
Joe Madden played quarterback there, and then he decided after his freshman year to stick with baseball, which was smart. Won the World Series with the Cubs in '76, and he beat Lehigh in one of those starts when he was a freshman.
And I'm sure he'll remember that as much as a World Series win, because that is what you do if you go to Lafayette for football. You try to beat Lehigh. That's the game.
What do you do if you're Duke? You want to beat.
You always want to beat those folks down Tobacco Road, if you will. It's going to set up a 4th and 7. We talked with Mike Elko about the label of being a basketball school, and he completely gets it. It's like, if you've got a program that is dominated at the highest level for as long as Duke basketball has, of course you're going to be known as a basketball school. He just doesn't buy into the notion that it has to be that way through the course of time.
Yeah.
He feels there is plenty of room, plenty of championships and wins to share between basketball and football. 12-10 left between Mike Elko on a 2-0 start. Carolina and Duke, they are football schools, Charles Arbuckle. Well, it's been a while. I mean, first time since 1994 that both are ranked in the top 25 at the same time.
This offseason, I had a chance. I've been in Cameron Indoor, but I got a chance to sit underneath the Cameron crazes.
You're showing off, huh?
Wild. But it was good, and I can understand why you could get football guys on campus, and if they're former basketball players, they will love this place and the place down the road.
Well, we got some young blood in the game for Duke. Not only the redshirt freshman Henry Beelan at quarterback, we're now seeing Travis Bates, redshirt freshman out of Tampa, at tailback. Quick pass to another redshirt freshman, Makai Wall, and Makai Wall comes up with the first catch of his college career.
I've been here 20 years almost, and the first time I got here, people said, Duke or North Carolina? I said, neither. And they would say, no, you got to pick one. I said, no, I'm not from here. But I love and appreciate the rivalry there.
And both schools so good academically, so good across the board athletically. Football has been the sport at Duke where it's trying to gain some traction. David Cutcliffe did a great job laying the foundation, recruiting the quarterbacks that we see, Beelan and Riley Leonard, producing Daniel Jones into the NFL as a first-round pick. But now you have Mike Elko that's picked up from that foundation and is really taking it to a different level. You cannot overstate the significance of that win on Monday night.
You can't overemphasize also up front. They looked the part up front when you go down on the field or when you talk to Mike Elko, and he understood that and said, even D-line or O-line, we have to be solid there, and the skill guys will make plays for us.
They just look athletic on every level, offensively and defensively. Not necessarily the biggest. The defensive line doesn't just wow you with sheer size, but they are so athletic in every position.
Start on the offense, 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
Well, I would differ with you.
Yep.
In one regard, Dwayne Carter, big, thick guy. Aeneas Peebles, another one. Jamion Franklin. They've got
Square Bear.
They've got dudes on the inside that I don't remember seeing when I used to call Duke games.
Fair.
And guys that can play and athletically, and then you put them those outside edge rushers, big, tall, lean, athletic guys. That makes a difference. And your secondary now is totally different.
And they have so many guys that can beat you. Arm strength on a rope right there to Jake Taylor. A redshirt freshman tight end. He comes up with his first career catch.
And then when I read through their bios, a lot of former guys are former athletes, cousins, or uncles that have played ball, so they've been around ball and understand ball and know how to play ball.
That certainly helps. Travis Bates with the carry, Reggie Thomas with the stop. And athletically, offensively, the receiving core, they're not all the 6'3", 6'4", 6'5" guys, but they have so many dudes that can beat you out to the catch.
And you know who his cousin is? Julius Peppers.
Well,
that's not a bad.
You know what? You got some good bloodlines if that's the case. Yeah. One of the greatest players in North Carolina history.
Both football and basketball.
Yeah, you forget about that, but you're absolutely right. 40 with the stop. And Riley Leonard and Henry Beelan. There has not been a football touch the ground until it's been caught by a receiver so far tonight. Leonard 12 of 12, Beelan 7 for 7. So that sets a record if it was an individual for most consecutive completions, because the Duke record is 16 straight completions. Leonard didn't stay in the game long enough. He was 12 for 12, and then Beelan 7 for 7. 23 straight completions now for the Duke quarterbacks going back to the win against Clemson. That is tough to do. Beelan now showing the feet, but did you see the patience to set it up? We do have a flag coming in.
No, it's hard to go 17 for 17 in a
against air
in 7-on-7, yeah. Let alone real holding competition.
Offense number 11, 10-yard penalty, 3rd down.
So Mekhi Wall with the hold.
But let's be real. Like you said earlier, they can go 4-0, right? Or should, potentially. But look at the rest of that schedule. You can see the grab there by the young fella, Mekhi Wall. But after that UConn game, you got Notre Dame, Sam Hartman in the house, North Carolina State, at home, mind you. And then you go to Florida State. And then at Louisville. Louisville is a much improved team this year already. Wake Forest, at UNC. It's a tough stretch for this Duke ball club, but you got to figure out, how do I just win one game? How do I win one play to set up for that next game?
Beelan on a 3rd and 10, first down, and that is Malik Bowen Sims. Last year, only 2 catches for Bowen Sims, comes up with his first of the year. And here's what you're talking about. I was surprised to look at the schedule. Now, these are not all road games.
Yep.
we need to point that out. But I was surprised to look at the schedule with David Cutcliffe in the past. There were a few 4-0 starts in there. It's what happened after that when you got into the teeth of the ACC.
Yeah.
But to your point, the teeth of the ACC back then didn't look like it does now because there are no divisions.
Yeah. So the way the schedule is put it on your list, you got to just go and play the games and figure out how to win your 9 or 10 games. Really good run right there.
Yeah, and also an impressive hit by Stone McDonald, the senior from South Carolina.
Travis Bates, redshirt freshman out of Tampa, Florida. Berkeley Prep, always, whenever I look on different rosters, you see Berkeley Prep kids from that Tampa area.
A lot of football talent. And for both these programs, they're able to go out of state, out of Pennsylvania, out of North Carolina, and recruit players on their level nationally because of the academic prestige. And that's one thing that Mike Elko really feels comfortable with, that they can now go out of state and recruit guys. He compared it to North Carolina State, where the Wolfpack cannot. They can go to a state like Indiana and say, we can offer you this scholarship with the best academic program you can possibly get. And those kids in a state like Indiana, they're going to say yes to a program like Duke when some of these other in-state programs cannot even be on the radar.
And Duke has always recruited outside of these, you know, and you think about David Cutcliffe. Yeah, he was
with the academics, you have to be national.
But you got to go now, and then now you're understanding that, like I said, it very much reminds me of what David Shaw was doing before he stepped down at Stanford. This very similar prospect of how they're going after players.
But sustaining that, right?
That's exactly the key.
Why it is so difficult. And Notre Dame is a program that is like that as well. And it's been very difficult for them to sustain success.
And what they've done here is, to your point, when you go get guys that you want to come in to transfer, or you use that transfer portal, you have to be effective with it. And I think that's a real key part of finding your players that fit your system and you fit their system and their belief, if it's 4 over 40.
They're finding guys in the Ivy League that can ball. These dudes can play. 4th and 1. Elan's going to give it to Peyton Jones, and that's a first down to keep this clock going. Now, not to take anything away from the players on this roster as well, they're not just here because they are smart. They're here because they can play.
Exactly.
There are some dudes here that can play for any program in college football, and it starts with their quarterback, Riley Leonard. Line him up anywhere, and he fits.
Mike Elko also knows you have to have really good coaches, which he has, and a recruiter who has been this way everywhere he's been. Trooper Taylor. He's a running back coach, but he's always been a very strong recruiter. And you have to have a good mix of coaches that understand how to teach, but also that can recruit really well.
They're going to be able to go get them. And there is Quran Boyd. First carry of the evening for him, and that's near the marker. And there's Trooper Taylor. I mean, in the recruiting circle, that's a legendary name.
Yeah, everybody knows Troop. He has, always has a hat to the back, and he's coaching the running backs. He coaches receivers, but he can recruit his tail off, and he's always been that way. And I think that's what you want to get. You want to get guys that understand and love it. Being able to go into a home and asking a family to give up their son, no matter what program. All programs have guys like that, or multiple guys that can get out there and beat the pavement.
2nd and 1. Boyd slips through one tackle and is able to get the first down. Jalen Joseph thought he had him. He was able to escape.
One of those kids that they got out of Houston, Texas. They have a few of them out of North Shore High School. Just missed that tackle. Really nice run.
Yeah, that's crazy. If Lafayette is pulling guys from Houston, North Shore, if you're not from the state of Texas like we are,
or Humboldt,
you don't understand
Texas,
how good that program is.
Bryan, Texas. I mean, they've got guys throughout, and just when you talk to the staff, they can't go and just go everywhere. But if kids are interested, they will figure out a way to get to them.
Grayson Loftus, true freshman quarterback from Gaffney, South Carolina, enters the game. And that is Philip Pfeiffer with the stop.
One of the Duke linemen just knocked down 2 defenders. He was downfield blocking and just blasted 2 guys.
Play until the clock hits 0, right? Here's the bio for Loftus. Number 25 pocket passer, the state of South Carolina, 6'3", 205. And this is a find by Elko and his staff as they start to develop the future of the Duke quarterbacks, which have been a staple over the past decade. Boyd was able to get back close to the line of scrimmage.
Tristan Roundtree had him in the backfield, couldn't bring him down, number 1.
Well, Lafayette feels like this is a type of game that will set them up for success in the Patriot League. They were picked to finish number 4 in the league this season. They've got some upside with Curtis at running back. If Schuster comes back healthy at quarterback, they got Dean DeNoble too with his athleticism. You can always mix him in as well. It does seem like Lafayette has achieved a couple of things. They're getting the exposure, the experience, but also going back to the way John Troxell put it, we want to make sure Duke knows that we were here, and I think they have accomplished that.
Oh, I think so as well. You know, a lot of times when coaches tell you, hey, your guys play hard, it's almost like, hey, don't tell me that.
Yeah.
Like Robert Saleh said in some uncertain terms. But I think tonight, when they shake hands at the middle of the field, it will be, hey, your guys competed. And we give you the utmost respect.
Much smaller roster than Duke. They do have some continuity that they are building up. The entire staff returns for a second year under John Troxell.
The other thing you want to come out of games like this is you don't want those injuries, because you just said it. You don't have the depth that Duke has to get into your schedule in the Patriot League. So you want to make sure your guys compete hard, but they come away and don't have injuries.
Boyd with the carry on 4th and 11, and this will be a turnover on downs as Duke is showing the respect, not trying to put more points on the board with the field goal. We'll give Lafayette the final 58 seconds. Women's sports taking over the afternoon every Sunday right here on ACC Network. We start at noon Eastern with field hockey. Number 7, Syracuse hosting UConn. Then it's a soccer triple header with Virginia Tech and Northwestern. Florida State, Florida. And we cap the day with Wyoming and Louisville at 5:30 Eastern Time. Noah Galindo here with Charles Arbuckle. Final minute of action in Durham. And this is Troy Bruce bouncing to the outside, trying to finish strong for the Leopards' first down carry. Duke will return to action against Northwestern as they try to make it 3-0 to start the season, as this is a dub in the books in 53 seconds for Mike Elko and company, as they were dealing with a short turnaround after beating Clemson on Monday night. Did a lot of study into how to handle that. Just went back to the offseason. They eventually settled on the type of approach NFL teams use when they play Sunday and then come back for a Thursday game.
Which I think is asinine to ask guys to play on a Sunday and then play Thursday. Monday to Saturday is still a tough task, but I think it also helped them understand what to do and how to make sure they got their guys back up and not doing too much, but enough to get ready to play the game.
And there's the transfer from Dartmouth, Joe Heffernan, with the stop. And Duke will move to 2-0 on the season with 2 wins in 1 week. 42-7 the final over Lafayette. Quarterbacks certainly the story, as Riley Leonard goes 12 for 12. Henry Beelan goes 8 for 8. That's how it wraps up. You see all smiles. Mike Elko talking with guys it is deep appreciation for.
Yeah, he understands, and he knows what it's like at that level. Also, John Olmstead was at Notre Dame, where I think Mike Elko had some familiarity with them from there. But just an appreciation for good football.
Yeah, we saw that. Jordan Waters, 11 carries, 112 yards, and 2 touchdowns. At 112, a career high, and Waters goes over 100 yards for the first time in his career here at Duke.
Yeah, it was a nice run. It was nice for him to also come right back after that fumble, and he just did not let that ball loose after that.
What did Duke show you overall?
Well, they showed me that they can, you know, the game wasn't pretty for them, but they found a way to win, like we would say, ugly, but also effectively. And I thought they threw the ball very well. I mean, the ball didn't touch the ground. And that was the other thing that I was very impressed with. But also their ability in the secondary, the ball hawk, the things that we saw on tape last year and now this year in that defensive front. I think that's what's going to have to get them there. The linebacking crew has to continue to improve, but on both the back end and the front end, I really like how they're built.
Jones and Pickett both with interceptions, and that's now 5 takeaways for this outstanding Duke defense through 2 games. So next up, a matchup against Northwestern, as Duke will try to make it 3-0 to start the season. Lafayette responded to the Duke opening drive touchdown with an opening drive touchdown of their own. They tried to slow this game down as much as they possibly could and take away from those Duke possessions, but Duke got it rolling. And we're now joined by the head coach, Mike Elko. Coach, how do you feel like your guys handled the quick turnaround after Monday night?
Yeah, I mean, I thought we were a little bit sluggish coming out. Obviously, we put the one drive together to start, and then we fell into a little bit of a rut. I thought we started getting it going a little bit in the middle of the second quarter, and then I thought we came out and played the second half the way we wanted to, and we were able to get a bunch of guys in, which is what we hope to do tonight.
Coach, we talked about it this week, your O-line and D-line. What are the things you take away? Because in the pit, I like what you guys are doing. How can you continue to improve that area of your team?
Yeah, I mean, obviously offensively, I think we ran the ball really well tonight. We controlled the line of scrimmage. I still think defensively there's a level we need to get to for us to get where we want to go in terms of stopping the run. And so I still think there's some things we can do to clean up and get better.
What do you think about the way your offensive line is protecting your quarterbacks?
Yeah, I mean, really good tonight. I thought we had clean pockets. I thought we were able to throw the ball well. It was great to get Henry Beelan out there and get him an opportunity to kind of operate with the first offense just in case that ever comes up and we have to get into that type of situation. And so, good. I thought we kept clean pockets all night. We were able to throw the ball.
Coach, what do you think about next week? You got Northwestern. You got a longer time to prepare, unlike this week.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, it's still going to be a little bit tricky because, in the NFL, when you play on short weeks, you get 9 days to get ready for the next one. And this is another normal week now coming off a short one. So I still think we're going to have to be a little bit careful, making sure we get our guys rested and recovered. Obviously, we're going to have a really hungry Northwestern team coming down here, and we're going to have to play a lot better next week.
Looks like you need to go dry off, Coach.
Yeah, that rainstorm was something now that we got there in the third quarter. The sky opened up a little bit.
Well, we made it through it. Coach, congratulations on the win, and we appreciate your time.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on.
So up next for Mike Elko and the Duke Blue Devils match up against Northwestern as this team is marching closer to a 4-0 start. It's conceivable, and then it gets really daunting.
You can always coach your guys harder when you win, and now this week there's another opportunity to take another step. And he said it, the defense has to play better, quicker, and sooner, especially against the run. We saw that early. I think those are the things you can clean up.
Well, there's not too much to clean up when it comes to quarterback play for Duke. Riley Leonard is still that guy. A perfect 12 for 12 through the year, 136 and a touchdown, his first passing touchdown of the season. Duke rolls over Lafayette 42-7 the final.